if there's any questions, I'd be open to answering those. I put a couple places you can catch me is Rob Leeming, RoBleaming on Facebook. And it's the one with the, I'm sitting on top of a rock and it's just a silhouette. It's that image. Or you can, my hashtags are #Mad Monk, MADDMONK_AAH for the Apocalyptic Ashram Hawkshaven, or Free Will Ministry _AAH. And that's where a lot of my work is shared with the permaculture and the local work that I'm doing, helping homeless to have shelter. We're also integrating earth integrated shelters into the landscape here at the Hawkshaven, to just create awareness of how we can turn trash into treasure, and how alchemy isn't just something of some magician in the past turning lead into gold. It's turning trash into treasure at every chance that we're offered. Is there anybody with any questions? I don't hear anybody.
Are you guys only operating in Washington currently?
Yes, for my ministry is very small. I'm helping a few people right now that are on the property, but most of the improvements and most of what I've done here is just a result of my savings from when I was a plumbing contractor, and what I'm able to take care of with what I can gather, and I do have some help from the community. I've put ads on Craigslist, and they bring me branches and logs and leaves and food scraps, and cardboard, right? Tons of cardboard for sheet mulching. And so, I mean, there is some support from the community, and my goal is to grow and to incorporate landscapes that people can retreat to, have a place for tiny homes.
What town are you located in, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just north of Yakima. I'm Washington. Yes, so I'm out in the desert. I'm about 15-minute drive from Yakima. So it's nice. It's not so far that we're away from airports or the ability of people coming to visit. But it is.
Grew up there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I love Yakima. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah,
it's definitely different from when I grew up, but it's still a wonderful place.
Crime and stuff has kind of taken a foothold, but I chose to move here 23 years ago now, and I really believe that there's a lot of really great people in this valley, and when we come together in ways that matter and make sense, that we can be a model of transformation as a community or even a county for others.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Erica, come on in. Would you put your Facebook information in the comments, please?
Yes. I'll have to get up close to my computer. I'll do that here as soon as the next person starts talking.
Erica, come on in, please.
Good morning, Rob. It's good to see you again, and thank you for everything that you're doing. Sometimes we think it has to be really significant. But what I've been seeing more and more of is the need to have a platform where we can recognize those for everything that they're doing. And it's not about bragging or bragging rights. It's about encouraging others to take the small steps, because we've found that many people feel helpless.
Right.
And it's easier to stay with the mainstream of the way things are, because people feel as though what they have to contribute isn't very much. But when you begin to add all of those contributions together, that is the transformation point.
Yeah. Well, imagine we have 8 billion plus people on this planet. And if everybody was doing an hour a day towards the things that truly matter and that are within their control and power right now, that's 8 billion plus hours every day being placed towards the solutions. instead of consuming the problems and supporting that. And that's one of the things too, is, you know, we're each just a piece of the puzzle. But when we get and we find our piece or our place in where we're supposed to be, it creates a masterpiece, you know, opposite of war, because that's what most of us want.
Yeah, and the reality is most humans really don't even know what peace means. They've never really experienced it fully and completely in their life. The same as truly experiencing love. The love they've known has been conditional love.
Right.
So many are walking this earth believing they're not enough, they're not good enough, they're not important enough.
Exactly. Thank
they-
you, Erica. We are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead. This is your friendly Ghost in the Machine Zoom tech here, and we are going to timestamp this video really quick. Everyone hold, please. Everyone breathe. Hello, everyone. This is the 3rd of February. You are in the Gathering Convergence Room, home of the Heal the Earth Initiative. And we are at the part of our program today with the National Industrial Hemp Coalition. I would like to bring on our 2 MCs for the evening. We have Keith Spence, which is Texas State Director, as well as Chief of Operations for the Earth Mother Network. And we have Michael Camp. Where are you, Mike? There's Michael.
Right here.
Okay, there he is. Michael is Chief Technical Officer for Earth Mother and Illinois State Director for the IHC. And we are also going to bring in Brandon. Brandon Desert is President of the National IHC and Oregon State Director. So you guys introduce where we're going with this.
Absolutely. I'll just go ahead and jump in. We've got so many great guests here, so much knowledge and information to be shared. I want to thank Mike and Rob. Amazing. I always love meeting with you guys, learning more about how this world works, right? Who you guys are, what you've done, and the impacts that we can continue on as a collective, right? Seeds, all about the seeds. SeedTheChange.live. Check it out. I'm not going to go into it long now because we're going to get right into our next guest. A man of the plant for over 40 years, a consumer, an advocate, an activist, an educator, a father, a lover of human beings. So I'm honored to have Master Rochi, aka Matt Avery. We all know him as Master Rochi, but my man in Indiana and knows the plant a little bit. So thank you for joining us here in this Built for the Future. The floor is all yours, Master Rochi. You are muted still. Hold on, Master. Hit that button.
There we go.
There we
There
go.
we go. There we go. Namaste, salutations, and greetings. Michael, thank you for such kind words. And I feel so honored to be included amongst such knowledgeable and fine and beautiful people and leaders in the industry. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I guess we should start at the beginning, as they say. I am Master Rochi, aka Matt Avery. I am the founder and CEO of Master Rochi's Garden. We are a hemp derivative company based in Indiana. We also do 2 podcasts a week, Mondays with Master Rochi and Mama, put something positive in your Monday, and our Thursday night vibe show, where we have guests from across the industry that come on and talk about what they're doing, play a little. We also do outreach to musicians and help them bring their music to new audiences. So that's some of the stuff that I'm doing as outreach, and we're on Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're also on the NOK network in Canada, the GrowFam Homestead network on Facebook. And so, as Michael was saying, I have been involved in hemp and cannabis since the early 80s. I remember back on the day handing out trifold pamphlets from Normal and other organizations. And people would laugh at me when I would tell them, you know, hemp is the answer. You know, I'm not kidding. Hemp is the answer. Originally, Master Rochi's Garden was going to be a craft grow cannabis company. We were going to do connoisseur grade, high end like bourbon. Well, you realize that we're in the prohibition state of Indiana, so that didn't look like it was going to happen at any time soon. So at that time, CBD was starting to rise to prominence. So there was a lot of interest, and I was kind of interested too. I hadn't heard of much of this, so I started looking into it. And I'm a traditional herbalist, and went, oh my God, what, this is amazing. Look, and then, CBG and CBN and all of these all of these other cannabinoids are starting to be explored and discovered. And it's like, this is providing an opportunity of wellness for people. And that's kind of how the garden was started. And all of the formulations we do are proprietary. I've made these for either myself or for others. But the reason that Michael invited me to talk today, enough about me, enough of that nonsense. He wanted me to speak on the endocannabinoid system. And that is something that I love to talk to people about. And people are also fascinated to find out, up until about 10 years ago, the endocannabinoid system was not taught in medical schools. And when it was taught as an elective class. So we've moved a long way to informing our healthcare professionals of what this amazing system of our body can do. And in fact, many times patients are going in and talking to their doctors with more knowledge of endocannabinoids, cannabis, CBD, and others than the knowledge that their doctor has. So we are educating our healthcare professionals. The endocannabinoid system is, I should say, not unique. All animals have this. And there is endocannabinoids we produce to help this system perform. And then there's phytocannabinoids. And these are the cannabinoids that we find in nature and consume to help boost this system. So phytocannabinoids, if you want to think of it, it's like a vitamin for the endocannabinoid system. It helps it perform better. Something else that many people don't realize is that the endocannabinoids that we consume come from other places than cannabis and hemp. And I guess I should back just a tad and talk about what the endocannabinoid system does for us. And this is a beautiful thing. I love it. It helps the body maintain homeostasis. And homeostasis is balance. And our body wants to be balanced. Our endocannabinoid system works so our immune system doesn't have to work. If we keep the machine in tip-top condition, and we're getting to problems before they become problems, before our immune system has to deal with it, then that's kind of the way you can look at in one aspect of our endocannabinoid system. And this affects our whole body. We have two types of receptors in the body. We have the CB1 receptors and the CB2 receptors. I'm not going to go into to what connects to what and the chemical processes and all of that. That's something for another time maybe. But the important thing is that you take cannabis for say, to speak of. The high that you get is that psychoactive portion of the CB1 receptors connecting in the brain. This could also help receptors in other parts of the body, especially deal with pain. So as soon as we start to feel this, our receptors pick up on the input of pain. It goes to our brain. What our endocannabinoid system does is it goes down there and tries to fight that source of pain. It helps alleviate or shut down some of the sensors. It also works with the gut brain health. If your mind is healthy, you don't usually have stomach issues. If your stomach is healthy, your mental health is better. The endocannabinoid system helps regulate the messages between our brain and our gut. The endocannabinoid system can also help, and this is near and dear to my heart, diabetes. It's showing now that CBD can go in and work at lowering blood sugar. But as we gain more and more knowledge, it doesn't seem that there's any aspect of our body that our endocannabinoid system doesn't have a share. Now, as I was saying, phytocannabinoids, which cannabis and hemp cannabinoids are all part of, are outside the body. This is stuff that we can bring in through nature. And everyday foods and spices are part of this. And if you'll notice, a lot of these are considered superfoods, healthy spices. I use a lot of these spices in different herbal remedies, but the spices are cinnamon, clove, oregano, black pepper. Black pepper is the king of spices, but these are ways of getting those phytocannabinoids, and this is how we have been getting them up until the current time, where we now have supplements, vitamins for our endocannabinoid system. Echinacea, which people swear by, that helps you get over the cold. It has other, many different benefits. It has phytocannabinoids in it. Broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage are vegetables that are loaded with phytocannabinoids. So adding this kind of stuff to your lifestyle is going to boost your endocannabinoid system. Am I? I hope I'm not droning on too much on this, but when we start to get into to how the endocannabinoid system affects it, it's also kind of garbage in, garbage out with the rest of your body, you might say. This is where we get into the entourage effect, because it's hard to talk about the endocannabinoid system without talking about the entourage effect, because really, when we boil it down, people want to know, how and why does THC and CBD help you? What is the best way for me to do this? And, because they're not interested in the whole system. They're feeling ill, they want relief, they want to know what this does and how it works. And we send out a lot of our Golden Medley product, which is a full spectrum 1500 milligram CBD with CBG added in, and also a CBD isolate added back in for people that are on an RSO or FECO routine for cancer, because of the tumor shrinking qualities of the CBD and the other benefits of the FECO. These work hand in hand. By just taking either the CBD or the FECO, if you will, by itself, you're not going to get the kind of result that you want, or the kind of result that you're going to get by taking them together. They support each other, and you might look at it like a symphony. Each one of these cannabinoids play a small but important part overall to the sound that you're going to get. If If you have just a drum set and a piano, it's a whole lot different than having a whole full orchestra. And the entourage effect is a hypothesis that is has been greatly. I'm sorry, I'm having a little loss for words here today. Praised the community. It hasn't been proven that the overall effects of THC and CBD working together is better than the individual isolates or parts by themselves. When you're addressing your endocannabinoid needs, you want to take into a couple of things into account. One, what are your needs and what kind of product do you want? Because we have a broad spectrum, there's a full spectrum, and there's isolates. A huge difference between these. The isolates is just basically 99% pure CBD. You can take this as a supplement. It is available, but more than likely you're going to find this as an additive into other products. A lot of oh, go ahead. Do we have a question? You'll find these more in additives of other products, such as topicals. CBD products, a lot of them use isolates. It makes sense. Then the broad spectrum is all of your cannabinoids, your CBD and all other cannabinoids and plant matter, but no THC, or no plant matter, excuse me, or THC. This is great if you are in a environment where you have a security clearance or you cannot afford to take any chances whatsoever of getting popped or not passing a drug test. The broad spectrum would be your answer. It's not going to give you everything that a full spectrum would, but it's a good choice for people that are THC sensitive or cannot take a chance on a drug test. Moving on to full spectrum, and this is where kind of the magic occurs. This includes everything that the plant has to offer, including THC up to the legal limit of 0.003%. This is where the entourage effect kicks in, is where the THC has been added back in. And my understanding is that you still get the THC or the entourage effect regardless of the type of THC, being THC Delta 8 or THC Delta 9, the entourage effect still holds, but the THC portion of that effect would be lessened. Now, moving on, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'll go ahead and jump in here and ask you a question, if that's all right.
Yes, please. Any questions?
When you're talking on the of just hemp itself, you're there in Indiana. How
Yes.
Your path, right? With how difficult it's been, what from what you've seen, how would you suggest that we're able to educate more about this, and then more so, how can an individual learn about their cannabinoid system? A person that doesn't know, there's lots of fear, lots of stigma against, what this plant is and does, so how could, if you could help the watchers maybe touch base on how can I navigate this safely, and maybe what should I ask myself to help navigate this?
Well, what we've done, thank you, Michael. Wonderful question. Thank you for saving me. We do several different things. Believe it or not, I do speaking engagements on these subjects. We also hang up posters when we are out at events. We do a lot of social media type of education and talk about this a lot on our phone. We're fighting a lot of propaganda. We're fighting stigmatization that we have to break through. And by coming and talking at a level that people can understand, there's all kinds of science. You go on to it's getting better. You go onto the internet and you ask, well, what are the benefits of CBD? It used to be you'd just get, reams of studies or advertisements, for a company. That was about the only information that you could get. And to be honest, CBD got a bad rap from the start, with questionable products, questionable companies, gas station CBD. So while the public was being told, this is wonderful for you, you can get all of these benefits, when the consumer went out and tried their first CBD purchase, probably at a gas station, because that's convenient, they didn't get any of the results. I was one of those people. My first bottle of CBD was terrible. And with no regulations, you don't know what you're getting. It could be cold pressed oil that they are a CBD oil blend. So it takes us within the company to self-regulate, do third-party testing, educate the consumers that you want to go to a legitimate company, and responsible companies are putting out responsible information and helping educate the consumers. I want to educate everybody, whether you purchase my product or not. I want you to know what you need to look for to get a quality product. And I think
Wonderful.
we have
Yes, we do. Cliff the gardener. Come on in, Cliff.
yes.
Good evening or good afternoon, depending where everybody is. Cliff the gardener here from North Minneapolis. Minneapolis is going green. Give us a call and learn what we mean. We're once like urban blight, now luscious garden sites. Gardens without borders and classrooms without walls. We are architects of our own destiny with access to food and justice for all. I was pulled into this call because of Danny down in the Lower Sioux building hempcrete structures. And so as a farmer, agriculturalist, and urban the co-founder of urban ag legislation in Minnesota, to be part of the Minnesota Farm Bill, first of its kind in the United States history legislation. We got more love than Woodstock while we were up in there before the Harley people showed up. But anyway, so with that said, as we're looking at growing crops around hempcrete, we are hearing from hemp farmers that if we produce specifically for hempcrete, like the fiber, that we would then possibly infect their farms with pollinating features. But what we as indigenous, Black indigenous, are seeing is that we have half a chance of stopping the deforestry taking place by replacing forestry with hempcrete for building structures out. But one of the problems we're seeing in that combativeness is that then it starts to infect or affect other crops that are being grown for the medicinal and the edible purposes. I'm a firm believer in what you're saying here, brother, about the medicinal side. I have seen how the CBG, THC, THCA mix actually impacts people with Lyme's disease and other neurological diseases that come with that. But all four bacterium of the Lyme's disease have been sustained during periods of time with low dosages from the very medicinal patches, which is an extremely low dosage that does not affect any type of drug tests or of this kind. But when it comes as Cliff the gardener, as an agriculturalist, we're seeing that the heavy pollen of the blossom of the crop that it would take for our industry would affect those industries. Are there any things that you yourself have been delving into other than season extension facilities or things of that nature?
No, but I have heard a lot of discussion of what you were talking about, because Indiana is so far behind everybody else. We have a fledgling hemp industry, and it's just now really kind of beginning to up the ground. But I've heard you were talking about being an issue in other states with the cross pollination, especially with the medicinal hemp, and I guess also out west where people are growing high strain CBD. Uh, uh,
May
high,
I
strain,
interject?
high CBD strains. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry to like drop in the middle of this. I tried raising my hand, but important point to be made in this topic specifically is when you're growing for textiles or for building materials or for any other purpose, the way you grow, the style of growing is so drastically different from that of growing cannabinoids. When you plant super tight together to promote vertical growth, and when you harvest, the plant is so young and supple that it has yet to have formed any of its male or female parts. Usually you want to harvest early enough that you're never going to have a pollen problem, so it won't have any time or any issues with cross pollination, provided you grow it appropriately.
Well, thank
Wonderful.
you.
Hey, guys, let
Thank
me
you for
jump in
that
here really
information.
quick. This is
Sure.
Shonda. Thank you. Yes, we are at time. We're at time here. Michael has his hand up. Our next presenter is entering the room. And I want to throw a couple of last minute comments in here before we give Michael the floor, because he's got his hands up. Number one, the cannabinoid system is absolutely amazing. It has, if anyone's familiar with the Venus flytrap, it's got like receptor sites that work like a flytrap. So the endocannabinoid system is actually amazing to actually feed these receptor sites. So you guys really do your research. Reach out to Master Roche, get his contact information. Cliff, welcome to the family. Danny is our new Minnesota State Director, and he's going to be building a team. So welcome to the family. And we're going to go ahead and back off really quick. Our next presenter's in the room. But before I do that, Michael, you had your hand up. Maybe go ahead and take the last comment out here.
No, absolutely. I want to just thank Master Rochi for coming in, all the amazing advice. Cliff, Brando, yeah, you nailed it. I was going to jump in and say triploids, but if you're not growing for seed, you're food inefficient, and then triploids. And I think we should just have a whole summit about what is a triploid, right? What is ploidity, and how can that affect the? Because I think that is absolutely a solution of growing something that can't be pollinated. And now we're working with magic. But thank you, Master Rochi, for bringing yourself here, what you do, and introducing us to just a little sliver of the impact that you've made thus far. And I can't wait to get you back on here and hear about the plans for the immediate futures. So go ahead and pass this off to Keith Spence and let him get the introduction in on to our next speaker.
Thank you,
Hi, I'm Keith Spence. I think we're having Alex Whiteplume incoming to discuss what he's doing out there. I am basically a poster child for the endocannabinoid system and cannabinoids. I'll share a little history of what happened to me. I was in nuclear medicine working in the medical field, and I had a brain aneurysm. I lost my left side because of that aneurysm when they embolized it. And I had to get out of that business because I couldn't mix radiopharmaceuticals properly. And a cleanup took 6 hours. So it was quite a difference. What happened for me is I started using cannabis to get my left side back, because I was paralyzed on my left side because of the embolization. Cannabis got me back to a normal state, helped me get strong again, connected my body, my left side to my right side. When I use cannabis, I call it getting normal, because it actually connects my body, both sides, where I feel normal. That's what made me move into what I'm doing now, is basically making medicines out of it. And like he said, the endocannabinoid system and the cannabinoids from the phytocannabinoids from the plant, when you mix them properly, you can make just about anything to help. Full spectrum is the way that I got through it. The isolates and distillates didn't work well for me unless that I had overdosed a little on THC. I could come off of it with a CBD isolate. There are different people with cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy that say the isolates work well for them in that realm of what they've got going on. But full spectrum worked for me, got me back, and now I make and mix those and retail these products with Botanically Correct. And yeah, thanks for all the information. And yes, we should talk about CANAF, the different ways of not cross-pollinating from cannabinoid to industrial. And with that, I'd like to invite Alex in.
Keith, I
Oh,
believe
Keith.
we're, hang on just a second, grandfather. We're going to go ahead and timestamp right here so our recordings don't get too long. Okay, everybody breathe, and we're going to close this one out really quick. Hello, everyone. This is the 3rd of February. You are in the Gathering Convergence Room, home of the Heal the Earth Initiative. This is the National Industrial Hemp Hemposium, and we have the renowned OG of indigenous growers with us, Grandfather Alex Whiteplume from the Pine Ridge Reservation. Grandfather, welcome.
Oh, good afternoon. I greet everybody with a warm, happy handshake. I hope everybody's good. It's good to see Keith's picture, and I finally put a face behind the name. Right on, Keith, and you too, Michael. We've been friends on Facebook, I believe, for a while, but I haven't never got a chance to hear your real voice and see your real face. So, good day today. I guess talking about hemp, I never really got involved in the science part of it. I started growing in 1999, 1998. Our tribe, which is a sovereign nation, they separated hemp from marijuana, and so we wanted to legalize it. We didn't want it to be regulated, and it took about 10 years. They waited for my court cases to get over, and finally, when Trump signed that agricultural bill, I was clear sailing. So I was happy to finally grow legally, and I did. I had 3 crops I raised and grew, and I got into CBD. And then in my 3rd year, I found out that 90% of all the hemp growers were in CBD. So it's a real competitive market. But the reason I wanted to grow that was one of my brother-in-laws had prostate cancer. And so in my backyard, I'd pull some leaves off the hemp, and I had a Chinese cooker. I set it at 150, and I made CBD medicine. And I told myself, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medicine man, but try the size of a baby shell every day. And he did, and his surgery was up 3 years later. He went in, and his prostate cancer was gone, and the doctor was just amazed. And so I felt really good about myself. I knew this is a true plant. So we proceeded to just keep growing. My brothers and sisters and I live in a matriarchal manner where we never disrespect our females. They get together and they pass what they want, which we call woopre, which in Lakota means law. So me and my little brother and 2 of them, I have 2 brothers, we talked about it and said, okay, well, this is the way we'll approach this. And we never say no to them. Many times we've gotten a little bit of trouble over that, but we always survived. So anyway, we started growing on Pine Ridge, and I live in one of the poorest communities in the poorest county in the United States. And I had visions and dreams of someone opening up a place to make hemp insulation, to make cooking oil. We had about 100 things that we designated that we wanted to go after. But you got to realize on the Pine Ridge Reservation where I live, there's no bank. I have to go into Nebraska to try to borrow money. And they said, no, hemp is connected to cannabis, so we can't open you an account. And I asked them, well, why? I know your banking laws, I know your system. All you have to do is appoint a monitor to monitor my account, and that shouldn't be no big deal. You could add it onto somebody else's job, just add on another description to it, and but they wouldn't go for it. So I had that going against me from the word go. And I used to have a ranch. I raised buffaloes. I was the first person in America to raise a private buffalo herd. My wife wanted to do that. So we had buffalo and paint horses, and I had a recreational trail ride throughout the summer where all Europeans used to come to my place. And it was 5-day camp. We set up teepees and furnished them, and they lived with campfire, and they just totally got away from the city environment where everything's electric and cement sidewalks, and they sure liked the outings here. So I really made a lot of good friends that way. And the first 10 years of my business like that, it was, I guess, lack of a better way to say it, we didn't pay no taxes. It's cash business. And people just enjoyed coming here. They'd go back to Europe. I had people from France and Italy and Germany, and I sort of shied away from the Chinese and Japanese because they have a real bad word. And that word's called why this, why? And I got tired of answering whys. I couldn't make up anything more. So anyway, I had a real healthy ranch. I enjoyed my ranch. My kids all had their own horses. Me and my wife had 9 children, and they all grew up out here in the country. We made our own world. Anything outside our boundaries, we never mattered to us. We just lived. So my sisters and brothers, we all agreed that we'll try hemp. All of us could gather something from this. So we went for it, and it was at first it was learning. In '99, when I grew, I traded for some hemp seeds from Canada, and we put them in, but they were, I guess they weren't bred right, and so they came out about 1 inch, and then they just fell over. So, and at that time, I was harvesting a plant called echinacea. In Lakota, we call that ichachbehu. And well, that was a good living too. It's tax-free, pure cash. And that was selling for like $50 a pound. And so I'd get 500 pounds and go sell it at Omaha, Nebraska, and come back with a ton of money. So I had a little bit of a start to grow my hemp here. And of course, we had to get a tractor. And I sent my grandson out to go buy one, and he brought back a 1949 Massey Ferguson tractor, 1949. It sounded like a locomotive, and smoke was blowing out every which way, but it worked. And so we disked it 9 inches that first time because I wanted to disrupt the root system so that hemp will have a chance. And so in 1990, that first year we planted, what I did was on my way back from Omaha, Nebraska, along the railroad tracks, I was driving by and I seen a bunch of marijuana plants. And so I stopped right away, and I went out there, and they're tall and slim. I always say hemp is tall and slim like me, you know. And when you grow marijuana, they're short and bushy and kind of round like my sister-in-laws, I always say. But anyway, I brought those seeds home, and we went ahead, and we really didn't know how to do it, but my field was plowed, and so we just disked it, and we just threw the seeds out, and I'll be danged if they all came out. And that summer, 1990, my plants were 16 to 22 feet tall. Beautiful, they're just good. And here where I live, it was down by the creek. And once the plants were getting tall, I noticed that some of them were getting mold. So we researched, and I quickly went and bought a bunch of mushrooms. Mushroom eats mold. So I planted mushrooms along the trees along my field, and that took care of the I guess the whatever was causing them to get that. So anyway, we were real successful. We had to learn. Like I said, I never got into the science of it. I just wanted to grow it, harvest it, and take it for sale. And which I did. I had 3 successful crops, 3 successful sales. And that's when the FBI, DEA, U.S. Marshal, the U.S. Attorney General, they all filed lifetime restraining order on me and my whole family never to grow hemp. And so we looked, and here, the whole world, we were the only family to be singled out, never to grow hemp. And that was kind of amazing to us. And where I'm from in South Dakota, it's kind of like the Mississippi of the South. Racism is just rampant in our state. And so we never go off the reservation. We just stay here, we keep to ourselves, and we try to make the best of what we can do. Anyway, to make a long story short, the three crops I grew, they were taken by the feds. They stole it. So we looked at the Controlled Substance Act, and way back in Section 18, there was another letter called 23. In that Controlled Substance Act, it said if any enrolled member of any Indian tribe applies wants to grow marijuana, you shall issue a permit. Well, I wasn't growing marijuana. I was growing cannabis, sativa, al, hemp. And there was a little bit difference there, but I figured there'd be no problems, but that didn't hold them back. And if you grow over 20,000 plants, it's automatic kingpin clause, they call it. And that's a death sentence. When I seen that, my heart start beating. And but again, when that DEA sent it to their own labs, it has 0 THC. My plants has 0 THC. So it didn't really meet the definition of a drug. So they couldn't really incarcerate me or none of my family members. And so anyway, we had beautiful dreams. We wanted to grow, and we wanted to be leading at the market. Actually, I have to admit, we were leading the industry for about 3 years. No one else planted. It was just, I guess maybe they thought I was crazy or something for violating the Controlled Substance Act. But a lot of the tribes across the country, and I hate to use the word tribe. If you look in a dictionary, that means a pack of wild dogs. A tribe is a pack of wild dogs. So then I claim to be a Rottweiler. My wife used to get angry at me. But anyway, with the ordinance 9827 that separated hemp from marijuana was a real good rule. It didn't regulate hemp. I applied to the land office. I showed them a map where I was growing. And then after harvest, I'd make a report on what I harvested. And that's all they wanted. That was a beautiful way. It wasn't regulated. It was just permitting, just like anything else. And we couldn't figure out why it was getting so difficult to grow and being regulated. One of my cousins said, "How come they don't regulate corn or cornflakes? That's how they make alcohol." And this is kind of a racist laws towards hemp. Anyway, we had all these discussions, but we were stuck in court for quite a while, and until 2000, that's when the tribe decided to regulate it. And they passed 50 pages of regulation. I had to take a background check, fingerprint it, and to me, I'm elder now. I'm 73 years old now, and it was embarrassing for me to go get a drug test. It seems like if my people don't respect me, then I'm in the wrong business. So anyway, it's pros and cons. So anyway, 2000, 2001, 2002 came and left. And then 3 years ago, we did put in another crop. I followed tribal regulations. I got the background check and the whole 9 yards and paid the fees. And so we had a successful crop. And it was nice, just amazing. And my whole family, we've been growing it for so long. We know how to harvest, we know how to do it. And we've done it all grassroots. I hired 20 people from my community. Most of the people came back from prison, they're third-time losers. Nobody would hire them, but I hired them, and gee, they loved it. They worked hard in the hemp fields, and they just loved the work. So we were doing good. And then 2 years ago, the tribe legalized recreational and medical. So 2 years ago, my hemp crop, at the beginning, the tribe was at 1% THC, and that was a precedent-setting level. And but when they regulated, they came down to meet the American level, which was 0.3. And here, 2 years ago, my plant came 0.3, 0.5, 0.5% over what it was supposed to be. And they didn't, in their ultimate wisdom, they didn't put no regulation on disposing it or destroying it. So I called the chief of police and told him, what should I do? Well, if it's over 0.3, it's marijuana. Go visit the marijuana commission, and they have a separate ordinance, and it wouldn't accommodate my plants. So I sort of fell between two regulations: the recreational medical marijuana and the hemp ordinance. And I didn't like to be regulated. All my life as a tribal member, I've been regulated. It's under 25 CFR. Uh, the Anyway, it's just weird, and so I got tired of being regulated. So the last 2 years, I didn't get a permit, and I didn't plant no hemp. But in South Dakota, their laws are a little bit more lax, and so I'm thinking about leasing some land off the reservation in the state of South Dakota, and try to grow in the state because the regulations are a little bit more lax. But I gave my seeds to a lady from the Rosebud Reservation, the next reservation over, and I gave her 350 pounds of my seed, and she grew it because Rosebud Reservation, the regulation weren't as rigid as the Oglala Reservation. So she had a successful crop, and today she's making soaps, salve, beautiful horse designs, eagle feather designs, eagle designs, beautiful hemp soaps, and she mixed them with sage, sweet grass. She pressed the oil somehow and mixed them, and I was just amazed at her. She's same age as I am, 73, but oh, she gets out and work. Anyway, I was really happy for her, and so she wanted to pay me back. So I said no. In Lakota, when we give a gift, it's a gift. One of these days, when we become a millionaire, maybe you'll have a giveaway ceremony. Then you could remember me. Would I ask you to pass on 350 pounds to someone else on the Rosebud Reservation so you could have another grower? So that's how we got by that one. But with my plants, it was over 3,000 pounds of flower that we harvested. I had to destroy it last year. And so we got cameras. I called the chief of police, the BIA superintendent, the U.S. attorney. We violated the law. We went over by 0.5%. So we're going to destroy it. You want to come and witness it, you're sure welcome. Not one of them showed up. So that kind of put me under the wagon there. I just ran out of funds. I ran out of energy. Anyway, that was my story about hemp. And I always remember when we first started growing hemp, clear back in 90 and 91, 92, 93. In those days, everybody in the hemp industry supported each other. They helped each other. They gave each other advice and helped each other with seeds. And it was just a wonderful feeling. It kind of reminded me of the old hippie days back in the 60s. You know, everybody wanted to get along. Anyway, I just loved that life with the hemp industry. But lately in 2000, I realized that it changed. Hemp industry changed. It's a dog eat dog world. It's competition. Nobody helps each other anymore. In 1993, I remember somebody from Arizona created the first hemp chips, potato chips. They were blue. And the whole country, we all said, ah, wow, look at that. And somebody created some soap. It was, ooh, ah, and we were just amazed at each other. And today, the hemp kind of left me, I'm behind schedule on it. But I really appreciate everybody for sticking with the game plan. Let's keep growing hemp, and let's all work diligently to try to get hemp deregulated. That's my mission today. Working with other people, and we're going to confront our tribe and say we want to take that ordinance away and go back where you just have to go take your application to somebody and circle it. This is where I'm gonna grow hemp. No, yes or no, just keep a record of it, and then I'll make my report after I harvest. I really like that simple process, but it's not like that today. Our tribe overregulated to a point where I don't even want to get involved in it. So I'm just sitting here on the sideline watching all you people grow hemp and create new uses for hemp. There's many uses for it, and it's just exciting to see that. I'll get back into it maybe sometimes when it becomes deregulated, but I feel that's the only option left for me to do. So that's my life story in a nutshell. In the country today, I think if you help each other, in Lakota we have huge giveaways, and when you have a giveaway, it's the purpose of a giveaway is to give somebody so much that they blush. It's called they turn red, they shayapi. And that's a good feeling when you just give that way. And I never really keep much for myself, but that picked up. here on the Pine Ridge Reservation, helping each other with hemp seeds, and people want to grow, but because of the regulation is so strict that nobody wants to get involved in it here. So we kind of been pushed aside as growers with the legislators, and our legislators in Lakota. I speak fluent Lakota. Malakota cha Lakolwa. Na Lakolia umpi hini chela me owe hogna wachin. Isamya washi chukina wachinshini. Ocha hechel ephe. We're fluent speakers, and we want to use this as a way to keep our language because it's beautiful. Within our 51 treaty territory, I'm working at making a law where everybody has to speak Lakota within our treaty territory, just like they do in France or other countries. So anyway, I have different goals from everybody, and I'm not racist. I like everybody, except for those people that say why all the time. But anyway, that's about what I have to say today. I appreciate you all listening to me.
Oh, no, except people that say why all the time. Thank you, grandfather. This is Shonda. Gail, are you here? Are you still here, Gail? Let me see if we can. She may be listening in the background. Grandmother Gail, are you still here? No, she may have gone to take the dog out. I wanted you to meet Grandmother Gail Thomas. She is well, I'm having problems saying the actual what we know is Cherokee. She is up in North Carolina, and Grandmother Gail runs our Union of Nations, grandfather, which is our Indigenous teaching platform. And we will be reaching out to you because the wisdom of our earth elders is so very important right now, that we bring this up in sacred honored ways to heal the heal the hoops. It is time. It is time for the great purification, and I'm so honored that you have blessed us here today. And anyone have any final questions for Grandfather Alex before we move on?
I just wanted to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your knowledge.
Oh.
You are one of the innovators, and yeah, I'd like to see more.
And we also we have Cliff here from the Lower Sioux. Cliff, come on in.
So I'm not from the Lower Sioux. I'm actually from North Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm also the founder of the George Floyd Memorial Garden. Jamar Clark was my cousin, murdered by 4th Precinct. Kobe Heisler was one of our first garden students, murdered by Brooklyn Center. Dante Wright's family, No More Names initiative sponsors our work, and I'm now the executive director of programming of education of Upper Midwest American Indian Center in North Minneapolis on Broadway and Emerson. We are opening a charter school in the next year that teaches Indigenous, Black, Indigenous, descendant of slave, food as medicine curriculum. But with that said, I am also a Cherokee. My father was the last male in our family born on a cotton plantation. And my brother was the first born off of a cotton plantation in our males, and I'm the second. But with that said, working with Anita Gates, who is a Standing Rock Dakota elder down here in Minnesota, looking at rebooting the language of Dakota and Ojibwe Moine in our building and our growing. We're just starting to reboot that this summer, working with Mississippi Watershed, DNR from Badote and other places. But the Lower Sioux tribe, for the first time, just built their new addition onto the Jackpot Casino.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and we are looking at bringing together a building crew to add on to that, so that we could teach, instead of infant to 6-year-old, up to 6th grade within the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But you speaking, man, like that actually speaks to my soul.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking at working with the World Fair. The Sustainability World Fair is coming to Minneapolis 2029. Mark Ritchie is the one that's kind of over this as a past blue collar in the state. He actually has the World Fair centered around Badote. It's around Dakota and the remembrance of what took place with slaves coming up on steamboats and dysphoria taking place with the same steamboats going back. Cherokee being in our blood. But with that said, your trial and errors are actually what are going to make us successful. Those things are the data pools that we have to gather, and also to bring honor to the work that you did as a forerunner. As we are getting ready to build hempcrete structures for reservations and homelessness, decrease homelessness in the Minneapolis area, to support camps like Nina Kasi, many others who are battling for a new way of living. The hempcrete is what's going to be able to advance these things. We are seeing a land back in many different places in Minnesota. Leech Lake got upwards of 38,000 acres back for the Ojibwe people. A much more northern area got 38,000 acres back from a forestry land give back. But we want to see so much more for the 11 federally recognized tribes of Minnesota and the surrounding states. And so we stand with you. Anita talks about the Pine Ridge circular homes all the time to me, telling me that we need to get connected. And it's just, for me, it's so special to hear you speaking with Anita constantly talking about the work that you guys are doing, Alex, up there in Pine Ridge region. So blessings to you. I appreciate you and thank you.
Okay.
Cliff, it is an honor to have you in the family. And Grandmother Gail is back here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. She does run our Indigenous teaching platform. Grandmother, come on in and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Shonda. Ligia Quisque, dancing here and dances with death, call me Gail. In Mayumiganaita, a river basin of the Long Man, whose head is on our sacred mountain and his feet are in the sea. I live on our sacred mountain Aragu, which means helping many people. And we are the people who resisted both removal on the Trail of Tears and the reservation the federal government calls Cherokee.
Right.
We resisted by hiding in these mountains with our native plants. The federal troops came in and killed all the animals,
Right.
thinking they would starve us out, but we knew the plant medicine, and we are still here.
Oh.
So I'm so happy to see many of us in this gathering, honoring the plants in this way. Thank you so much.
Oh. In Lakota, our description for all the plant life, we call them the standing silent nation. And they have their own language through the wind, but they're standing silent. And the roots of all plants are connected around the world. And so when you say something, the plants hear you, your message goes out all over the world. So you have to be kind and make sure you don't make no lies or say something negative, because it's gonna go out around the world. The roots were here before internet.
Yeah. We are the roots of the internet, and we have those skills. We still have those gifts that we carry, in so many ways. I've held traditional Lakota ceremony on this sacred mountain at my home for, gosh, almost 15 years or more. So we've had over 500 ceremonies, and I have songs that come to me in the dream time in Lakota ceremony language.
Yeah.
So I feel very connected and very kin.
There's a
with
big
all of
difference. There's a big difference amongst the nations. You had 500 years of contact, your Cherokee peoples, and I don't call them people, I say peoples, that represents the nation. And then you come further this way, there's 400 years of contact, and then 300 years of contact. And most of those were totally run over, killed, died through disease. And the ones that survived were assimilated through the boarding school and military era. And the Lakota, this year, we had 232 years of contact. and we survived. Our language, our ceremonies, our rituals are real. They're still here. And many people from the East and West Coast come to the reservation here, and they stay with us to learn our ceremonies and go through them. And we always offer them, go on a vision quest. It might take 2-3 years, but keep doing it, and you'll regain your song, you'll gain your original ceremonies. Don't just practice Lakota ceremonies just because we're good looking. No, I'm just teasing you. but we want that, we want to share that, and we realize that today. And I always encourage each nation, each individual member of a tribe to stand for the treaty that was violated. They violated, and I don't think they have any intentions of ever honoring them. But I would like to gather us all up and make friends with all our allies, and especially the non-Indians. And they got to have morals. There should be sadness. A lot of people go to church on Sunday, they dress up nice and come out smiling, when they should come out of that church with tears in their eyes, with the genocide of ridiculous proportions that they committed against us in this country. And we have to get over that, but we have to do it together with everybody involved. It can't be just us. And so I go and I educate people on that. And plus we have such beautiful ceremonies. People come here and they just leave here just happy with spirituality instead of a religion. And so I don't want to create any negative connotation towards religion, but if I was a white guy, I'd like to be a religious person, because then the man gets to be the boss. They own the woman, they're chattel, and they're second, and that's the white man way. And my wife, I told her, I said, let's be Christian so I could boss you around, and she always got mad at me, you know. But I'm getting old now, and I'm losing my teeth, and so I quit doing my public speaking. And today's the first time I spoke in public like this in a long time. And we barely got over the COVID situation here. And I know hemp has a way to block that or build your immune system up somehow. And I wanted to experiment with hemp and echinacea and press the oils, and there's got to be a formula where we could join them together, because echinacea boosts your immune system, and with hemp maybe there's a way to solve cancer, all these other diseases that is amongst us today. And every year or two, a new plant comes out from Mother Earth, and some of them are really poisonous. So we used to live in a natural way where we knew those and we adjusted with them. Today my horses, people's cows, birds, eagles, they all drink from the rivers and the creeks. Humans, we're the only ones that they mix chloride or something in our water. So we separated ourselves from all that nature. So our body's immune system is not adjusting to the natural way the earth is coming to be. So I'm kind of confused. I drink from my aquifer, I drink from the well. I don't want to have no chlorinated water coming into my body. And I feel strong. Somehow I'm 73 and I'm still living here. I'm sitting here talking to you all when the life expectancy of indigenous people, a male, is 45 years old. And for women, it's 56. And somehow I'm still here. Maybe there's a purpose for me to be here. I want to be like my grandpa, you know, he had 5 wives. But I don't know if I could handle that at my age now today.
Okay. Okay, grandfather. We're running a little over. It has been such
Okay.
an honor having you here. And
Yeah.
we hope you come back. This is we are on the first Saturday of every month. We would be honored to have you
Yeah.
as a regular speaker here, grandfather. And
Yeah.
my lovely sister Gail, thank you so
Mhm.
much. And Union of Nations, our Indigenous teaching platform, with the grandmother Gail in direction there, and grandfather Alex Whiteplume from Pine River Reservation. I believe our next Brandon, are you here? I think Brandon's up next. Yes, I see you, Brandon. Brandon, are you
I
there?
am here.
You are here.
I
Okay.
am.
Yes, can you turn your camera on so I can find you?
Is it not on? There it is.
No, there you are. There you are. Okay,
Must have turned off
so
while I was wandering.
yes, exactly. So everyone, this is Brandon Desert, Oregon State Director of the National Industrial Hemp Coalition. At the state level, at the national level, he is president of the National Industrial Hemp Coalition. Brendan, how are you? And what are you going to teach us today?
Well, I don't know that I'm going to necessarily teach many folks anything, but I'm going to talk on the topics of preparation for farming for the year, as it's getting to be the beginning of spring and everybody's going to have to come up with plans.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
Okay, so first thing that I see in the hemp industry is a lack of preparation in all forms. So whenever it comes to cannabis farming in any type, whether it's for building materials, textiles, cannabinoids, or if you're growing marijuana, you know, you always have to have an end goal in sight, meaning find your sales routes, find a contract, find a buyer of any sort before you plant anything. Once you have an idea of what you're going to be trying to grow or produce and a sales point for that product, then you have to plan your farm. So the first thing I tell everybody, and everyone should always know, is you have to test your water and you have to test your soil. If you're going to grow in a large space, then you should be prepared to do at least one test for every 3 to 5 acres. I try to do at least every 3 acres. When you do a test for soil, you don't want to take your sample from any one location. If you're going to do every 3 acres, you do that as a big square. You take 1/5 of a cup of soil from 8 inches below surface at each corner of that square, and then one from the center. You mix that up, put it in a jar, and you take your tests from that jar with your soil homogenized. If you don't know specifically what you're looking for or what your ideal soil types are needed to be, then the best thing you can do is find a reputable agronomist in your area. A good agronomist will always know exactly how you need to amend your soil and exactly what they should give you to keep it to your preferred style. Say you want to be organic, or, you know, you have overly clay soil, can't I don't know. There's a multitude of different issues, but agronomists will always be able to tell you exactly what you need for whatever you're trying to grow. Secondly, water sources vary. So you can either get water from a well, from irrigation systems, from rain, or whatever your source may be. Normally, with well water, you don't have so many issues with fluctuation, but with irrigation systems or with rainwater, it changes constantly. So if you're trying to grow for cannabinoids specifically, your best bet is to have an entrapment system. Doesn't matter if you use tanks or pools or a pond, but this way you can test your pH, test everything, and get it exactly where you need it before you feed it to your plants. If you're feeding direct from the source and you don't have an entrapment system in stage before it gets to your plants, then you have no idea what you're giving them. Anybody got questions? Okay, then I'll continue. There's a multitude of different grow types, whether you're growing for cannabinoid production or building materials or for fiber, right? There's a handful of different misconceptions I hear in these different styles of growing. The biggest one is obviously the issue of cross-pollination, as we were talking prior. And I'll bring this up again because it's very important. When you're growing for cannabinoids, you grow the plant through nearly its full life cycle. Where we actually harvest for cannabinoid use is what's the bud stage of the plant, pre-bloom, right? So you're not actually smoking the flower, you're smoking the bud of the flower. When you grow for seed, seed actually matures after the bud blooms into flower. So you get a much better production after everything actually blooms and stretches out. And this is a stage of growth that most people never experience. When you're growing for fiber or for bast or herd, you generally grow with about a 4-inch by 4-inch planting ratio, meaning all of your plants are super tightly packed together, and thus they fight for light. This ensures that they grow vertically very fast before they ever have a chance to mature to show their gender, whether they're male or female. And when growing for fiber or bast or herd, you go out with a combine harvester and you harvest the entire crop before it reaches like 15 feet high, because at that point your tractors are having issues harvesting. So none of your plants are going to pollinate, ideally, if you keep to your planting or your farm appropriately. When you're growing for cannabinoid value, you still have a chance of dealing with cross-pollination issues, as it is a big problem here on the West Coast. However, any farmer worth their salt is constantly searching their field from about the 4th week of after planting throughout, because you don't have to just worry about males or females. Your females can hermaphrodite from stress. Say you get too much light, too little light, fluctuations in light, fluctuations in temperature, any amount of stress or strain can cause a plant to hermaphrodite, and it doesn't happen on the entire plant. So when a female plant shows hermaphroditic traits, it can happen on the inside of a branch, right up against the inside stalk, and at a glance, you'll never notice. So you actually have to do your due diligence, hire a couple of folks, walk your field, and check each individual plant, each individual branch, plant by plant. And you have to continue doing this every few days throughout the entire growth cycle of your field.
Brandon, let me jump in here. Cliff, did you have your hand up? Did you have a question or comment?
I'm sorry, guys, I'm walking my field. I can't see the screen.
That's okay.
It was in regards to the watering portion.
Please.
So doing urban farming, I had noticed I had got a crop of seed. Those seeds for vegetation.
I'm sorry, you broke up there. I couldn't hear that.
The seedlings that I ended up getting were for vegetables and fruits. And when we fed these plants, water out of a hose from a spigot, they all began to wilt. And then so when I went and got like an acidic wood chips and then laid down a bunch of compost around it, and I had about 3 inches of wood chips surrounding these plants, so that when I watered the garden thereafter with the same water, there was a little bit of a filtration before it got to the soil, and it seemed to help the plants revive. But the fact of the matter is this: is that the water you're speaking of, that chlorinated, high fluorinated water from the water recycling plants that come out of our faucets and our spigots, is very contaminated. But so then in the earthship community, what I'm getting to as a question, when I went and built my first earthship in Montana after the Montana fires, we went out to Red Lodge, Montana, and built an earthship out there for Bill and Ruth. And I met Rory Moreland, who is a 23-year earthship veteran. And when he left from Taos, New Mexico to Montana, he said for the first time, he had planted his cannabis plants that were meant for flowering for the fruit. He planted them in the Blackwater field of the non-edible garden landscape of his Earthship. When he planted them, they, within the first, I believe, month and a half, shot up 7.5 feet tall. He never watered them. It was just the watering system of the black water tank in the yard. When he came to Montana, it was a month of growing from May to June. Late June, mid or early July, he went to Montana. They were 9 feet tall. When he got back in early September, his plants had shot up to about 14, 15 feet in height, 13 feet breadth, harvesting upwards of 20 to 30 pounds per plant. But he said that he found that the cannabinoid really appreciated human fecal matter and the black water system. So have you ever tried looking into alternative from any type of underground water source like that instead of watering yourself, depending upon a water source like black water or anything like that in your studies?
I
Or
would
does-
strongly hesitate against doing such a thing simply because these plants are well known for bioremediation, which means that they uptake chemicals which we really don't want in our soil or our water. And they will retain that, which means when you smoke the flower from it, you're getting all of that weird stuff in your smoke. You know, it's super common for cannabis to carry high levels of heavy metals or various other things, depending on the soil you grow it in or the water you grow it in. So I would strongly hesitate against using that if it was grown with black water.
So maybe that'd be more of like a testing thing that should be done
Yeah, you should definitely test that flower before ingesting it.
in the remediation process.
Yeah, because normally when cannabis is grown in locations like that, it's for bioremediation to pull those toxins out of the soil, right? So when it gets pulled out, it has to be removed and taken somewhere else. Otherwise, when it degrades, it's going to reintroduce those things back into the soil, right? And otherwise, when you smoke it or ingest it, you're just putting all that in your body.
Thank you so much, Brandon. And Mark Ritchie, I see you're on the line. I know you're taking notes as well as I am in regards to that remediation process.
Thank you, Cliff. Carol Sue, come on in. Turn on your camera,
Thank
please.
you.
There
Yes,
you
yes,
are.
I'm here. I have of Cliff, you talk about using the water, and I wanted to either recommend or see what you think, because I think Abraham what's his first name? What's his first name? What's his first name?
Carol, let's
Adam
stick
has
to cultivation.
He has a attachment for a hose, and it's supposed to change the pH and make the plants happy and healthy. And so I was just going to recommend that maybe you contact Adam Abrahams.
Thank you, Carol.
Mhm.
Cliff, anybody else have any questions before we move on about cultivation and hemp? Where's Mark? Mark, do we need to drag you in here? Okay, Brandon.